I wonder if you already know that your father is or was a narcissist and are continuing your research, or whether you're right at the beginning of your journey exploring whether this could explain why the relationship with your dad has been or was a tricky one. Perhaps something somebody said gave you that light bulb moment and suddenly everything fell into place, and the reason why your relationship with your father has been or was so tricky was because he is or was a narcissist. It took most of my clients decades before the penny dropped for them and they reached out for help. So no matter where you are on your journey, you are in the right place, and by the end of this video will have moved yourself a step further. Before we jump in and start looking at some common traits and behaviours of a narcissistic father, let's have a look at why it is so difficult to have that light bulb moment that I just described. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you get notifications about new videos, and if you're enjoying the video, give it a thumbs up, and these two things will help spread the word and YouTube will share this with more people who need to hear it. Thank you. When we're born, of course, our very survival depends on key adults around us, usually our parents. We believe as children that our parents are flawless, and we have this belief that they are going to keep us safe, and in the normal run of things, we should find ourselves in a safe nest full of that unconditional love from which we will start to explore the world, but always be able to return feeling secure and safe. But when this doesn't happen, we begin to question our self-worth. We are supposed to feel worthy for just being who we are and not have love that is dependent on what we achieve or our performances in any area. However, in a toxic family dynamic, this is exactly what we get, the opposite of that. So our self-worth is low, and we are used to having to do something in order to earn somebody's love and attention. Societal and cultural pressures can make us believe that parents need to be loved and respected no matter what. And so you find children in a toxic family relationship often suppressing their negative feelings towards one or both parents at the cost of their own emotional well-being. So it's no wonder that it's often long into adulthood that a child begins to question whether their father is or was a narcissist, because it can feel wrong and disrespectful. So if this is you asking yourself these questions, let's have a look at some of the most common traits that you may have experienced. First of all, we're going to look at traits that a young child is likely to experience at the hands of a narcissistic father, and then we'll have a look at how the behaviours may present as you are an adult child. Perhaps the most common experience of a child of a narcissistic father is excessive control and authority, with the father dictating everything in the child's life, from activities they pursue to friendships they enjoy, leaving the child with no option to explore what they might like or to make their own choices. And I recently worked with a client who had experienced exactly that. And as an adult in her 30s, she had no idea what she actually enjoyed because she'd never had the experience of exploring the possibilities and then choosing. So this is a long-term consequence of that controlling and excessive authoritarian behaviour. Narcissists do not have the ability to feel empathy, to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and to know what that person may be feeling or experiencing. So a narcissistic father will not be able to connect with their child by showing empathy, and they may simply ignore or trivialize the child's emotions, reactions, or feelings. This leads once more to a suppression of feelings and emotions in order to keep the peace. So as an adult child, you may find it really difficult to express your own feelings and emotions because they were stuffed down so much in childhood. A narcissistic father will have impossibly high standards and expectations of a child, even a very young child. So in terms of academic or sporting or other types of achievements, they will set the bar high. And if the child doesn't meet those expectations, they will usually be met with rage or the silent treatment, some form of passive-aggressive response to make it absolutely clear to that child that they did not meet their father's expectations and they do not therefore deserve approval or attention from their father. Linked to that last trait is conditional love, not unconditional love that will be given by the father. So their love and attention and affection will be dependent on the child doing the right thing, whether that's, as we just said, meeting high expectations for exam results, for example, or just towing the line, conforming to what the father wants the child to do and how they envisage things to be. The last trait we're going to look at today that a child may experience at the hands of their narcissistic father is manipulation through guilt tripping. So the father will prioritise their own needs over and above anybody else's, including their children. So you might hear phrases like, "After all that I do for you, and you can't even do this simple thing for me." No matter what age the child is, the father is capable of making them feel bad for just being a child and doing what normal children should be allowed to do. Many of those behaviours continue into the adult life of that child, but there are some that change and some new behaviours that present in the adult-child relationship with their narcissistic father. The first one is intrusiveness into the adult child's personal affairs, whether this is into their business decisions, their career choices, their relationship choices. The father will continue to believe that they know best, that there is only one way and that is their way. And if that adult child doesn't play by the father's rules, then they will either get raging, loud outbursts and reactions, or they will get the more passive-aggressive, silent treatments, for example, to show their disapproval that the child has not done what the father told them to do. A narcissistic father may put themselves in competition with an adult child trying to outdo them, trying to prove to the child, to the community or the rest of the family, that they are more successful, the father that is, than the child, and taking actions that set the child up for failure, and even going as far as sabotaging their own opportunities for success. Another very common behaviour experienced by many of my clients is the narcissistic father using financial leverage to attempt to control their adult child. So this may be threats to withdraw support or to exclude them from their will if they don't do as the father bids. Whilst the child is younger and maybe going through college, etc., of course, this is a very powerful leverage that the father has, because the child is often still quite dependent, even going into later adolescence and their early 20s. And again, if the child, no matter what age, doesn't do what the father has told them to do, then they might find themselves in financial difficulty. So it's a real powerful way of control on the part of the father. Threats relating to money affairs or other types of threats may become more common as the narcissistic father ages and perhaps begins to experience poor health. They will have always been the centre of their own universe. Now they will demand that they get the attention and the sympathy that they feel they deserve. So with total disregard for anything else that the adult child has going on in their life, their own responsibilities or concerns, the narcissistic father will use all the manipulative tricks, from guilt tripping to that financial leverage, to make, to the best of their ability, the adult child attend to them, to their needs, and spend time with them, often again at the expense of the adult child's emotional well-being, and maybe at the expense of their business or their personal relationships. If you do believe that your father is or was a narcissist, I have some strategies for you to try. The first one is if your father is still alive, and that is all around setting and maintaining clear boundaries. So give yourself some time to think about what you feel is reasonable behaviour, what are reasonable expectations on the part of a parent, and get clear on how you are going to reinforce those. And this may be through reduced contact. Some of my clients have felt that they had no choice than to go no contact, which isn't an easy thing to do, but sometimes it's the right thing to do. So whatever you decide, make sure that you communicate those boundaries assertively, and you may need some professional support in order to get to that point. And be clear on consequences of what will happen if your boundaries are not respected. So if you have said, for example, that certain topics of conversation are off limits and you are not prepared to discuss them because of past experiences of those conversations turning into fights or arguments, but say your father doesn't respect this boundary, and you will make it clear that if they do bring up that topic or try to insist on discussing it, that you will leave that family dinner or that event or their home, wherever you may be. And it's important for you to follow through. So stick to your own rules and reinforce those boundaries. As I said, you may need professional support in order to get to that point, so reach out to a therapist if you need that. So the next two approaches are for whether your father is still alive or whether he has passed. The first one is all about building a supportive network for yourself and making sure that you have people in your network who understand or who are at least empathetic with what you have been through, what you are going through. So these may be friends, other relatives, colleagues, business connections. You can also connect with people and support groups either in person or online. And being part of groups where other people have experienced similar things to yourself can be really, really helpful, because it reduces that feeling of isolation and it reduces that feeling that nobody else gets what you've been through and what you're going through. So make sure that you work on expanding your network so you have plenty of people around you who can give you the right sort of support and support whatever decision you may have made, whether that is no contact, reduced contact, or enforcing your boundaries. These people can help you stick to your guns and keep supporting you through the difficult times that emerge as you try to reinforce new boundaries. My third tip is to seek professional therapy. Working with an accredited therapist who is experienced in narcissistic abuse can be incredibly empowering for you and transformational. You need to fully understand the connections between what has happened in the past and the difficulties you're facing in the here and now. You need to heal those wounds, and then you need to begin building your new chapter, setting goals and growing personally and in your business. With a professional therapist by your side, that ride is so much easier and you definitely feel that you're not alone. If you want to share your experiences or suggest topics for future videos, please leave comments below. Until next time, take really good care of you. Bye for now.